So I know that the Akatsuki versus Battle videos are a separate community within the Naruto fan base, and specifically like this topic today, Sasuke versus the Akatsuki. I know it's a pretty popular topic. I know it's probably been overdone 1,000 times over, but I wanted to do my own video about it. And today I had the Sasuke King, Loco. Say hey, everybody.
What's up, y'all? I'm back on the channel, repping my glorious king once again. How y'all doing today?
So today, like I said, we're just doing the Sasuke versus the Akatsuki, specifically Hebi Sasuke versus the Akatsuki, the one we saw at the beginning of Shippuden, but with also Orochimaru absorbed. And yeah, just basing off each individual member of the Akatsuki, it's pretty cut and dry. So today, I just wanted to do this one because I feel like it's an interesting one to do. It's a pretty popular topic, so I thought I'd do my own spin of it. And yeah, not to beat around the bush too much longer, let's just go ahead and get right on into it. So the first one we have Hidan. I don't think we need to really go over too much about this. I mean, Loco, you got a thing you want to add to Hidan?
Yeah, we all know Hidan solos, like he just beats up Sasuke. Now, let me stop playing. I wish I could give more love to Hidan, but like, what is bro actually doing right here? He self-admittedly, he's the slowest member of the Akatsuki. He's never really been shown to do anything too impressive. Like he just kind of sucks. Like I doubt he'd even be able to draw blood from Sasuke. Every time someone makes one of these videos, like Hidan's always getting like pooped on kind of bad. So it's kind of like what can he really do here? Like, let's be honest. Like, can we move on now?
Yeah, I'm about to say worst case. I mean, Kakashi was doing pretty well in mid Shippuden against both Hidan and Kakuzu all at the same time, and he was doing just fine. So yeah, I don't think Hidan's dropping, getting a drop of blood from Sasuke like whatsoever. So yeah, let's just go ahead and move on. Next we have Kisame. This one, Loco and I were very confused on. This one was one of the ones that was back and forth for a while. Just because I feel like Kisame isn't necessarily a perfect counter to Sasuke, but definitely a hard counter to Sasuke. Mainly because, I mean, swordplay is gonna factor in a big thing in this fight, and I'm not knocking Sasuke's swordplay at all. But Samehada is not just a sword; it's a sword and then some. For one thing, lightning style, like Sasuke's a lightning style like affinity with his swords gonna be rendered useless in this fight because, as we all know, Samehada can just absorb the chakra through the lightning style like he did with B, and so yeah, that's gonna be rendered useless. And personally, I feel like if it's on the ground, I feel like Kisame might overwhelm Sasuke and just as sheer raw power. Loco, what you got?
Yeah, the chakra absorbing thing is very interesting because I am under the impression that Kisame constantly amps himself with whatever Samehada gives him. Like whenever Samehada absorbs someone's chakra, it automatically gives it to Kisame. That's just based off a statement that I don't know what that guy's name. The one that B went to go see, like the master that hides up in the hills. Like he was observing Kisame, and he's like, this dude gets stronger whenever he like absorbs the chakra from, like whenever Samehada absorbs the chakra. And then Kisame follows this up by saying like, yeah man, the more chakra I take from you, the stronger I become automatically. And of course you could interpret this to mean that, like Samehada just heals him or whatever, but I definitely believe that the more likely interpretation would just be that he just does get amped constantly by Samehada. And if that's the case, then you wouldn't be able to apply all of his feats, but he still has really good ones against B. Like he's reacting to version 1B, who was very, very fast. Sasuke was actually having trouble with him when he went to go fight him. Obviously, I believe that was a weaker version of Sasuke. Like Taka Sasuke is kind of just stated to be like still weak and injured after his fight with Itachi. I do think Hebi Sasuke does have an advantage there, but at the same time, like Kisame would still scale in that same tier of speed, and he has this insane ability to just take chakra from his opponents, like passively. Like he doesn't even need to cut you with the blade. We saw this all the way back in part 1. He was passively taking Asuma's chakra, and like he didn't know what to do about it. Like, yeah. So I really do think Sasuke has a hard time dealing with that chakra absorption.
There's also a good point of contention of whether or not Samehada might be able to absorb the curse mark chakra that he has, just in case Sasuke does go into his curse mark 1 or 2 state. So if that's the case, then it's even more so that Sasuke is screwed. Now, I'm not putting that completely on the table. It's definitely something that like I don't know for 100% certainty. So, but even more so to the point though, the only way I feel like Sasuke could get a clean win is if Kisame decides to summon the giant lake. And now most of you might be putting a question mark like how does that even apply? How does Sasuke get the win? If he does do that, Sasuke could emit the Chidori stream from his body within the water dome and paralyze Kisame, leaving a good opening for Sasuke to get the kill. Now, I don't necessarily know if Samehada would be able to heal Kisame within the water dome, while he's in there, while he's fused with Samehada. I mean, maybe, but if Samehada's not really taking any more chakra, then I don't really know if Samehada can still heal him, or maybe if Sasuke can chop his head off while he's paralyzed within the water dome. I don't know, but that'd be the only thing that he can really do. And if he's able to get back outside the water dome with his Curse Mark 2 state, assuming it hasn't been absorbed yet, because he can fly, then what Sasuke could do is try to create a thunderstorm and try to launch Kirin in enough time while Kisame is paralyzed. So it just depends on how Kisame decides to take the fight. It's really, I can't really say for certain like how he would react to this fight. But I would assume it'd probably take place on the ground first. And if it is on the ground first, then I feel like Kisame kind of overwhelms Sasuke a decent bit, enough because he's got good swordplay. Samehada's no joke. Kisame is pretty strong in his own right. And he's also got a boastful plethora of chakra to draw from. So yeah, I don't... And if worst case, if I had to convince myself of this, Sasuke later on after the fight with Itachi, whenever Suigetsu was trying to go toe-to-toe with Kisame, Sasuke took one look at Kisame. Is like, Suigetsu, you do whatever you want to do, but just know you can't beat him yet. So even like that, Sasuke recognizes Kisame's overwhelming strength. So if this one's a toss-up, I feel like it could go either way. If I had to give it to somebody, though, I feel like Kisame takes it like a lucky 6 out of 10. Like a very lucky 6 out of 10. Because I feel like Sasuke does still give Kisame a tougher fight, but I definitely don't want to sleep on Kisame.
I think the biggest case for Sasuke would just be Kirin. I don't see what Kisame is going to do about that. I mean, if you say Samehada's absorbing that thing, I think you're crazy. But I really don't think that he has any valid counter for Kirin that I'm currently aware of. But if you're under the interpretation that Sasuke won't be able to get Kirin off in time, I totally agree with that. He does have a pretty good counter for that. Yeah, so I think Kisame is definitely going to have a hard time dealing with Kirin. Also, Sasuke should still have access to Orochimaru and all of his abilities, so I definitely think that this is probably going to be one of the closest fights in this entire video. So if it really gets down to it, you could just do a little cop-out answer and say that once Sasuke is running solo on chakra, he might just give in to Orochimaru and ask for help, and then out pops the 8-headed Hydra Serpent, and now Kisame has to deal with Orochimaru as well. And from then on, it's kind of he's going to have a pretty hard time dealing with that too, after he's already been through a hell of a fight with Sasuke. So if you don't want to include that as part of a win con for Sasuke, then I definitely am kind of leaning towards Kisame. You could be generous and give it to Sasuke depending on how quick you think he can get off Kirin. If he does do the water bubble, it does shave off chakra the longer someone's inside that big bubble. But once again, LightningSnow says, lightning release is a very hard counter to most of Kisame's water jutsus.
Yeah. So yeah, as a toss up, in my opinion, 6 out of 10 in lucky favor for Kisame. So now we'll go move on to Itachi. Don't think we need to spend too much longer on this one because we pretty much seen this in the main series. Now there's a point of contention about whether what Obito specifically meant when he said that if Itachi wanted to kill you, you'd certainly be dead. Whether it's he meant that Itachi could just kill you off rip when the battle started, or one way or the other, you would not have made it out alive. There's different ways you could translate it. Either way, though, it doesn't matter because Sasuke still loses. But at the best case scenario, this Itachi that fought Sasuke specifically, he'd still win mid to I'd say mid diff at the very worst. Even if Itachi was fighting 100% serious, maybe that's sleeping on Itachi. But again, I'm talking about the sick Itachi that fought Sasuke, not a healthier Itachi. So before anybody starts to hop on me about it, like, just know that I'm not trying to sleep on Itachi even when he's sick.
Yeah, I'd honestly go with the more generous interpretation for Sasuke and be like, yeah, Itachi probably wasn't holding back in speed or strength, but obviously he wasn't trying to kill his little brother. Obito's statement is kind of taken out of context sometimes, but I could definitely see how you'd end up interpreting it in that way. Just the biggest thing is actually, me and LightningSnow have talked about it on his channel before. EMS Sasuke and Itachi are definitely pretty close to each other. They are like relative. It is stated multiple times. So basically, Itachi just kind of scales to a stronger version of Sasuke. So yeah, he's gonna win this one. Go check out that video if you hadn't already.
For sure. So now we're going to go on to Kakuzu. Now, if you were to ask me a couple of years ago who I thought win this fight, then I would have said probably Kakuzu, but because Kakuzu is my favorite Akatsuki member, but recently I've noticed that, like, he's not as... he's definitely tough, but when it comes to certain characters like this, I can't, you know... So, like, if mid-Shippuden Kakashi could handle both Kakuzu and Hidan, you know, at least for a good bit, like he really was handling them both for a decent bit, then I don't see a reason why this Sasuke, who scales above this Kakashi, couldn't do the same. I mean, when it comes down to it, all Kakuzu really has is nature affinity, which, hey, it's all high-level ninjutsu, but almost every single one of Sasuke's jutsu is high-level as well. So, and like, for instance, the Earth style heart that Kakuzu has that gives him the Diamond Morph ability is taken off the field. Because once Sasuke sees that his Earth style move, his Diamond Morph Jutsu is Earth style, he's going to immediately be like, okay, well, all I need to do is hit him with Chidori. And again, if Kakashi can figure it out, like how his hearts work or whatever, there's no reason why Sasuke can't either. And so at that point, it just becomes which nature affinity, you know, works against which heart or mask, whatever you want to call them. And yeah, Sasuke can still copy anything that Kakuzu puts out. So all he really needs to do is figure out what nature affinity works on which heart and just picks them off. And I feel like worst case, if Kakuzu decides to go in his weird, like, monster transformation like he did in the main series, then maybe, you know, Sasuke can be quick enough to launch Kirin off rip without creating a thunderstorm and just get rid of Kakuzu as it is. But if he's not, then I guess that form is really the toughest thing that Sasuke has to deal with. You know, Loco, what you got?
So I'd say even if you did want to go with the most charitable, like, highball interpretations of Kakuzu, in which obviously we talk about the Yugito scaling, he did react to an attack from Yugito, and while she was revived in the War Arc, she was kind of keeping up with Base B and KCM1 Naruto. Now, those feats are pretty contentious, and I personally don't really agree with them. Not because, like, of the normal counter argument, which would be like Yugito was being amped by Obito. I don't really think that's the case. But at the same time, those feats kind of don't really get her anywhere in the first place. And even if we did take those into account, I could still scale like even base Hebi Sasuke even higher than that, just based off the fact that he was able to kind of blitz Jugo and Suigetsu really badly. And later on, like, the same Jugo and Suigetsu were, like, putting up a very decent fight against Raikage A during the 5 Kage Summit. They were, like, Jugo kind of actually outsped A. Funnily enough, you see him block his arm strike when he was about to hit Sasuke, and Suigetsu goes flying in out of absolutely nowhere. And we know that the Raikage A was a pretty good match for KCM1 Naruto before he was, like, mentally amped or he decided to go all out, depending on your interpretation. So basically, Sasuke would still scale to the same tier of speed, even if you want to highball Kakuzu. And I don't want to be mean to Kakuzu here, right? But Sasuke really just is a hard counter to him. Like LightningSnow was saying, Kakashi was able to figure out the Earth style stuff pretty quickly. And as a matter of fact, Sasuke did the exact same thing against Deidera. Like, he used his Sharingan to, like, figure out the hand signs that Deidera was using. Was like, oh, you're using Earth Release. I have the perfect counter to that. I have Lightning Release. So he did the exact same thing against Kakuzu. Basically just negged the raw durability that he has. And as for the masks, I think they're kind of fodder. I don't think the masks scale anywhere. I think Kakuzu himself is pretty impressive, and I think he shouldn't be downplayed. But the masks are kind of fodder, you know. So I definitely think that Sasuke would be able to take down the masks pretty easily. And if Kakuzu does go into his big monster tentacle hentai form, then Kirin kind of just solos pretty badly. I think that's going to be the main thesis of this video. Like, Kirin just slams.
Yeah, that's not even really getting into the summons Sasuke has either. So worst case, he can just summon Manda, take care of Kakuzu when he's in his weird monster form. So yeah, I'd say that Sasuke takes this one mid diff. I don't want to even say high diff. I hate saying that, but yeah, I don't think Sasuke has too much trouble dealing with Kakuzu. So moving on to Deidara. Now, we saw this in the main series, like with Itachi, so there's not much to go over, but I will say that I feel like at worst case for Sasuke, it ends up in a draw, because in the main series, you know, it was technically going to be a draw without Sasuke reverse summoning out of there and having help from Suigetsu, but Sasuke was also fighting without killer intent because he wanted information about Itachi. There was even a couple of points in the fight with Deidara that he said he avoided a vital spot in order to, you know, make sure he didn't kill Deidara. But now that was a clone, that was a clay clone, but still the point still stands that he was not using killer intent. So whether or not like he could still, because I mean he could just off rip use Kirin against Deidara and end the fight, you know, whether or not Deidara could still avoid it with, you know, his flight capabilities, who knows. I think Kirin's pretty fast. I don't think Deidara's fast enough even with flight, but I still like worst case, I feel like it comes to a draw, but more often than not, I feel like Sasuke has the edge here in terms of getting the kill on Deidara. So, Loco, you got anything?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people try to downplay Sasuke by scaling him only to Deidara. Oh, he barely beat Deidara. Like, it's very clear, like, even at the end of the fight when Sasuke's all bloodied up, he's like, Deidara is just going on yapping, right? He's like, you don't appreciate my art. And then Sasuke's like, man, I don't give a damn about your art. Just tell me where my brother Itachi is. Like, I don't care. Like, you can very clearly tell that Sasuke wasn't necessarily taking the fight that seriously. So if you really want to be that guy and say like Sasuke is gonna high diff Deidara, he's gonna stalemate, you know, like, there's just a lot of stuff he didn't pull out against Deidara. He didn't pull out Manda until the very end. He didn't use Kirin, obviously. He didn't even use any of Orochimaru's abilities. So if that's the case, then, like, sure, irritation. But I definitely think Sasuke was holding back by a very substantial amount against Deidara.
Yeah, and so that's not really even getting into the summons, and he did use, like, that snake as a defense, but, like, he was really only using the curse mark and the snakes as a defense, not even really so much of the offensive prowess for it. So yeah, I think Sasuke wins more often than not against Deidara. It's a close like 6 or 7 out of 10 in Sasuke's favor. So moving on to Konan, and I want to say that she's a big deal, you know, and for most opponents she kind of is, because the best thing she has really in her arsenal is that she can fly and shoot you know, paper weapons from a distance. But as we just mentioned, Sasuke can fly too with his curse mark, so that pretty much just renders her useless, because she did go toe to toe with Obito, which is pretty impressive. But I don't know, I don't feel like this Sasuke is losing to Konan. I really feel weird if I said that, because again, he has long range lightning style, he has long range fire style that could, I mean, she did sort of tank a fireball point blank from Jiraiya, but I mean, she did have to coat herself in paper, so if she's not fast enough to do so, then she gets damage dealt to her. And I'm assuming that if it was a lightning style attack instead of a fire style attack, that it'd probably do a little bit more damage, because I feel like lightning just kind of pierces through Konan's paper defenses. So, and at worst case, he could just fly and try to put her in a Genjutsu, just like Obito did. So, I don't know. I feel like, because we saw that, I mean, Sasuke was able to do something to Deidara. I don't know if that was a Genjutsu or not, but it kind of seemed like it. It was just like Deidara's Sharingan anxiety probably like was getting to him or not. But whether it's still, the case is that Konan's best ability is really rendered useless. And even if you give her the prep time that she did against Obito, the 600 billion paper bombs, that again is rendered useless because Sasuke could just go into its Curse Mark 2 state and fly out of there. So I can't see Konan really winning at all against Sasuke. She puts up a decent fight, sure, but that's about it. Loco, what you got?
So basically, Fireball Jutsu GG. Like, it's the fact of the matter is that she is actually get cooked by that fireball. Also, lightning release could just ignite her, set her on fire. like LightningSnow said, he also has crazy genjutsu feats. He's able to genjutsu Manda, a sage creature. He's able to He's able to erode Orochimaru's entire inner universe and like absorb his whole body just based off his visual prowess and pure willpower alone. So I definitely think he'd be able to put Konan under a genjutsu. And of course, we said this so many times, Kirin, I don't really think he needs it in this one. He'd be able to take Konan down before it even comes to that. But I definitely think Sasuke takes this one pretty easily.
Yeah, so now we'll move on to Sasori. Now, this is one that he and Loco and I were just unsure about, because, like, Sasori, I've said this multiple times, but fighting Sasori is like fighting a Final Fantasy boss. Like, a Final Fantasy boss, because he has so many layers to him. Like, once you think you've beaten him, he pulls out something now. It's like, well, now I got to deal with this. So, but the thing is, though, like, Sasuke's really resourceful, and he's a fantastic tactician that I feel like he can get himself out of most situations, even when like something new is presented to him. Because obviously the Haruka shell is getting one-shotted, by like a long range like Chidori or a long range fireball jutsu or whatever. And at that point, it just becomes like the third Kazekage. And I don't really know. I mean, Loco, you gotta think about like what he would be able to do against the third Kazekage.
So I don't think the third Kazekage is all that impressive. Like shocks and like gas throughout the audience. Like a lot of people hype up Sasori specifically because of the third Kazekage puppet. First of all, like I'm not trying to downplay Sakura here. I'm not trying to say like she's bad or anything, but she was kind of dodging that shit, kind of dodging the attacks of the third Kazekage with minimal help from Chiyo. At that point, she had already lost one of her arms and was unable to support Sakura in the same way that she was before, and Sakura was still reacting to all of Sasori's attacks. She was even punching away the big iron blocks and everything. And the main way that people scale the third Kazekage is by saying, they quote two statements in which he stated to be the strongest Kazekage of all time. And of course, that would put him above Rasa, who is kind of relative to War Gaara, who has some insanely impressive feats. But I don't really think anyone would be able to prove that the third Kazekage puppet actually scales to the prime third. LightningSnow mentioned to me it might be like an Edo Tensei type situation, like where they're slightly weaker, but they're still of similar strength. I think that's a very charitable assumption to give. Sasori, you could go along with that. I just think that based off what we've seen in the series, the third Iron Saiyan wasn't all that impressive in terms of speed. And Sakura did kind of deal with it in like a chapter or two, right? And I just don't think the Hiriko Shell or the third is really going to get Sasori anywhere in the first place.
Yeah, so I mean, at that point, it just becomes, because he could just deal with the third Kazekage with a simple Chidori and, just one-shot it. And like I said, I don't think it's as fast as Sasuke or Sasuke's reaction time. So yeah, I think he deals with it relatively easy. And at that point, it just becomes the 100 puppets. And Sakura and Chiyo, again, all respect to them, but if they can deal with the 100 puppets, I do not see a reason, because Sasuke has so many like resources available to him to deal with something like that, like Chidori Stream for one thing. If they all try to bum rush him, and honestly, I don't think he even needs to do that. I think Sasuke's Taijutsu alone, with his Sharingan, his Taijutsu, his Lighting Affinity, I feel like he can just cut through every single one of them like minimal trouble. And so then at that point, it's becomes Sasori's real body. And the thing is with the Sharingan, Sasuke could see that there's a bunch of chakra in that little heart thing he's got. And I wouldn't be surprised if Sasuke just shoots a Chidori Simbone right through there and just, like, one-shot Sasori. Now, I'm not trying to sleep on Sasori's speed, but to be honest with you, Sasori himself isn't really, like, his actual puppet body isn't hyped up for being a speedster. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's 100% guaranteed that he gets hit with a Chidori Simbone, but I could definitely see Sasuke being accurate enough to just one-shot it with the Chidori Simbone and just ending Sasori there. Worst case, if he gets down to Sasori's real body, and if he needs to, Kirin, GG. I mean, even if they're in a cave, Sasuke can just get out of it and create a thunderstorm, whatever, enough time to just launch Kirin in that little cave, and it's pretty much done for. So, Yeah, I can't really see Sasori pulling out a win. Now, the one thing I will say, though, is we came to the conclusion that if Sasori's poison, like, could kill him. We don't know, for 100% certainty. Loco did, we kind of did some research on it. We came to a conclusion that due to the fact that Orochimaru is a scientist who did a lot of research, specifically on the Akatsuki themselves, that there's a good chance that Orochimaru studied Sasori's poison and developed a counter to it. As we know that Sasuke has, immunity to poison because of Orochimaru. So there's a good chance that Sasori's poison won't affect Sasuke. But there's also that slight chance that it could, because Sasori's poison is a special kind of poison. I mean, Sakura had to literally invent an antidote from scratch to deal with it. So there is that chance. If that is the case, and Sasori is able to either nick Sasuke with the poison blade or hit him with the poison gas in some kind of way, then yes, Sasuke will eventually just drop dead in a few days. But if not, if the poison doesn't affect him because of Orochimaru's immunity, then I don't see... at that point, I think Sasuke still wins.
Orochimaru was partnered up with Itachi. Apparently, he was actually Sasori's teammate. I just realized that today, right before we recorded this video. So the thing is, if Orochimaru was partnered with Sasori, then he should know a pretty good amount of intel on him, right? Especially because when they met up at the Tenchi Bridge with Kabuto, Yamato was trying to extract information from him about Orochimaru. And whenever Kabuto fakes being a spy and then ends up betraying Yamato, Orochimaru instantly realizes, man, that guy's not Sasori. Come on now, Kabuto, what are you doing? And Kabuto didn't even realize that it wasn't actually Sasori, but Orochimaru did. He knew immediately. So presumably that would mean that Orochimaru actually knows what Sasori looks like underneath the Hiriko shell, which means that they would have had to have been in a battle where Sasori was pushed hard enough to actually come out of the Hiriko shell. So it is very, very likely that he knows about the poison, especially because he went to go confront Sasori. He was kind of willing to throw down with Sasori on the spot, right? And it would be kind of foolish to go up to a poison master and try to beat him up if you don't have an antidote to that poison. So more likely than not, the most likely interpretation would be that Orochimaru does have some type of poison resistance, and obviously we know that Sasuke absorbed Orochimaru and all of his abilities. It's stated even in the 5 Kage Summit that Sasuke still has the poison resistance that Orochimaru gave him. So if that's the case, I definitely think it is the most likely interpretation that Sasuke would have a resistance to this kind of poison. And I don't want to just dismiss Sasori because of this. I think the best way you can highball Sasori is by saying that his actual puppet body itself is stronger than the 3rd Kazekage, just based off a statement. It's he himself, the body of Sasori, is the most reliable tool in his arsenal, which would require him to at least be as strong as the 3rd Kazekage. And that's pretty cool and all, but the fact of the matter is that Deidera was easily reacting to Gaara's chakra amp sand, and we know how that fight with Deidera panned out against Sasuke. So it's kind of portrayed that Sasuke was faster than Deidera by a good amount. It's stated as well by Toby and the data books. So it's kind of he should definitely be faster than Sasori by a considerable margin, and he has the abilities and the win cons to be able to seal the deal. So I don't think the poison is really going to do anything, but I don't want to make it seem like I'm downplaying Sasori here.
No, for sure. Like I said, Sasori is one of the most lethal opponents in the Naruto verse for anyone to go up against, but Sasuke is too. So I can't sleep on Sasuke either. So yeah, I think he's definitely about high diff on Sasuke. Then I think he does. I think Sasuke puts up a good fight, but I feel like Sasuke will take it at the end of the day. So next we'll go on to Pain. Now this one is one that it kind of hurts because I love Pain and Sasuke both. Now if we're doing this in context, then we're gonna do it with Sasuke having no intel on Pain and Pain being at full power, not like he was at the beginning of the fight with Naruto in the Pain arc. So this is tough because a lot of you know that once Pain fights somebody, it's usually with the other side not having intel on him. And as we've seen, that's terrible. That is horrendous to fight somebody. Because, like, you're spending all your time and more likely your chakra finding out that, you know, your ability doesn't work because there's an ability that Pain has that counters it in some kind of way. And so now you have to figure out which abilities are tied to which Pain. And while you're doing so, you're expending a lot of your chakra to do so. So that's a problem, right? Now, the benefit for Sasuke here is that he's a fantastic tactician. So maybe there's a really good chance that, you know, he could start deducing quick enough to where he doesn't exhaust much chakra. But I don't know, like, Pain's pretty smart too, especially with his own, like, versatility. He's definitely smart. So I don't know. It's one. I told Luke it's one of those things like I don't know if Sasuke can, you know, or how far he gets to which Pain before he exhausts a good amount of chakra. Like, me personally, I think he does deal with a lot of the weaker paths, no trouble. Like, Konohamaru took care of one with one Rasengan, and Naruto kind of was taking them down to a baseline Rasengan as well. So a Chidori to either one of them should get the job done. But that's the thing is, I was like, there's so many abilities that, like, the Pain has that Sasuke will be just taken back by completely. And so he has to figure out how to stop them. But I'm rambling, I know, but I think that Sasuke does get him down to the Diva path. But at that point, like, how much chakra does Sasuke expend just getting down the Diva path, you know?
I definitely think, like, I might get mobbed for saying this, right? But I definitely think Hebi Sasuke is comparable to Sage Naruto. I know a lot of people might be mad that I said that, but it's definitely the case that Sasuke has the abilities, the stamina, the speed to be able to wear Pain down at least as much as Naruto did. Like, he is going to take down those fodder paths pretty easily, and then once Nagato begins to concentrate on the Diva path, then that's where the real battle is going to begin. Since it is no intel, it's going to be a lot harder for Sasuke, since he's going to have to, you know, he's going to have to kind of feel out Pain. He's going to have to, like, maybe waste some chakra, waste some stamina, just trying to figure out some of Pain's abilities, because he has, let's be honest, Nagato Pain has one of the most unique skill sets in the entire series, and especially with the shared vision, Sasuke's going to have, he's going to have his work cut out for him getting around that. But I definitely think he'd get just as far as Naruto did at the very least. And then from then on, it's kind of like, how fatigued is he? How injured is he after he's taken down like 4 or 5 paths of Pain and he's just down to like the Diva path and maybe the Preta path. So it really comes down to your own interpretation. I personally am I'm a Hebi Sasuke fan. That's my thing, right? I would definitely say Hebi Sasuke wins with a higher interpretation, just based off some statements from the data books, just calling him. They say he has power that exceeds even that of the Akatsuki. They say he, like, anyone that confronts him will die. They cannot beat him or whatever. But I know that's not what a lot of the people want to hear. So if we're going with a more moderate interpretation, I definitely would think Sasuke would probably tire out before he can, like, seal the deal on Pain, especially with the Tendo path when he's being, like, when he's being focused on by Nagato. Like, he's actually kind of cracked. Like, he's out here tangling with the 6 tails, and he's throwing up these Chibaku Tensei orbs and destroying, like, cities and stuff like that. So if we're going, like, more moderate, I would say that that Pain would be able to take Sasuke down here.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And the thing is like, in my opinion, the most troublesome Pains, when it comes to, like, how much and how annoying they can be, is definitely the Animal Path, the Oscar Path, and the Diva Path. The Preta Path, I don't think it's going to be like this. Like, once Sasuke sees it absorbed ninjutsu, all he's got to do is just simple taijutsu, and I don't think it's going to take much. Yeah, the shared field of vision is going to be a problem, but I don't know. I feel like Sasuke should be relatively quick enough to take it out if he needed to, with some distractions or whatever. He's got Manda. He can still summon some, like, mediocre snakes if needed to as an extra, defense or whatever. I think once he sees the Animal Path is, like, summoning animals, that he's going to go with. I think the Animal Path is the one that most opponents need to take out first, because the trouble with the Animal Path is that once any of the Animal Paths are on the field, I mean, it's rest in peace if you're fighting them, and if you don't have any summons of your own. But Sasuke does, so, like, maybe Manda and a couple of the mini snake or medium-sized snakes could help in this regard, but that would be just a distraction so that Sasuke can take down the animal path. And once that's done, I feel like the next one he's got to go for is the Naraka path. And again, that one got taken down by Konohamaru of all people. So now I'm not sleeping on the their speed or whatever, but the paths of pain aren't known for being speedsters themselves, and I feel like Sasuke is more or less known for being pretty fast. Not Minato level speed, but definitely one of the faster ones, if we're being honest. So I feel like he's quick enough to get the kills on like the weaker paths of pain, and I don't think the Asura path is doing much to Sasuke, if I'm going to be honest either. He's just got missiles and laser beams or whatever. I feel like Sasuke should be, relatively quick enough to avoid them with his Sharingan. And so, yeah, I feel like it's just the Diva path that he has the trouble with, really. But I feel like at that point, he spends so much chakra dealing with the rest of them that I don't know. And assuming that the rest of the paths of pain are kind of protecting the Diva path, that's kind of what they were doing in the fight against Naruto. Then, I mean, Nagato hasn't really expended a whole lot of chakra himself. So it's really going to be the Diva path at full power, per se, against the Sasuke that's, relatively weaker and a little bit more exhausted. Now, the eight-headed serpent is a big deal, but at that point, I feel like it's, Chibaku Tensei or Chaotic Shinra Tensei, and it's a GG, because I don't think Sasuke can really tank that unless he reverse summons from Manda like he did with Deidera. So I don't know. I feel like maybe like survivability is what the right word is. Like, who could survive in this fight, more than get the kill. I just think that pain can outlast Sasuke in terms of chakra, and at that point, he's outlast Sasuke and gets the kill with either Chibaku Tensei or Shinra Tensei, and that's about it. That's, in my opinion. I think Sasuke does really well. Now, I will say, if this was full intel, then I think Sasuke does a lot better than he would originally, because at that point he would know going in what to do and how to do it, which ones to take care of first, how to take care of them. And I think that he could still get down Diva path relatively quicker and then deal with the Diva path, accordingly. But with no intel, I don't know, it's just a lot tougher, and I think pain takes it at the end of the day.
Yeah, it really comes down to like a stamina battle. I definitely think Sasuke is physically more impressive than Pain, but once again, if we are gonna go with with this interpretation, then Pain definitely would give Sasuke an insanely hard time. If he had full intel, then like LightningSnow said, I would actually say that he would win with full intel. But that's just me repping my boy Sasuke once again. So really, yeah, it's like, unless you think Sasuke can like flap his wings fast enough to fly out of Chibaku Tensei, then that is still like a very valid win con for Pain. Maybe he can, but I don't know if that's actually gonna happen. But yeah, I'd agree with what he said.
So now the last one is Obito, and I don't think we need to spend too much time over this one. Obito kind of just curb stomps Sasuke. Like, I don't want to say that in a mean way, because Sasuke, like I've been saying, this Sasuke is lethal. Like, there's no getting around it. But I don't know. Obito avoided Sasuke's attacks twice in the series before even the war arc. So I don't know. I don't think Sasuke has any really big counters to Kamui, whether it's phasing or getting sucked in. So and Obito was pretty confident that he could take up all of Taka when they were out of the Akatsuki, and he had to tell him that the Leaf Village was destroyed. But Sasuke's like, yeah, what if we refuse to help you again? So Obito's like, well, then you're gonna die here. So I don't think there's much to go over. Loco, you got anything for Obito?
Yeah, I think Obito is such a rat when it comes to Kamui. Like, that is the main reason why he wins all of these versus battles fights. Normally, I'd say, like, if you could turn it into like not a 1v1, like if you have the ability to like create shadow clones, or you can like summon in very helpful like creatures and stuff, then you would have a better time against Obito. But Sasuke really doesn't have that. The summons wouldn't be they wouldn't be able to provide the same pressure that Sasuke would be able to. It's just Kamui is such a difficult thing to deal with. So I definitely say that Obito wins purely based off the Kamui, unless you think Sasuke's Genjutsu is strong enough, which it very well may be. Maybe I could maybe I could like come up with something, some type of argument for that in the future. But as of right now, Obito definitely would take this one against Sasuke.
So there y'all have it. Sasuke versus the Akatsuki. We try to be, generous to both combatants in each section. So hopefully we did a good enough job. I feel like we may have highballed Sasuke a little bit, but I don't think we did, because I feel like this Sasuke is definitely, I don't think he's slept on, but I don't think he's appreciated as much as the later Sasuke's are, because I think this Sasuke is like mid to high Kage level, high Kage level at if you're being very, very generous, but I don't think it's outlandish to say he's high Kage level either. So yeah, I think he deals with, a good bit of the Akatsuki relatively easy, but there are some who give him a pretty tough fight. So I think we did all right. Loco, thank you for being on the channel with me again.
Yes, sir. Love to be on. Thanks for having me on once again.
Not a problem. So make sure y'all like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you go like and subscribe on Loco's channel if you haven't already. Thank you for listening and watching all the way to the end if you have. And until the next one, LightningSnow out.